Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most overpowered new Amon build in Borderlands 4. Now, Amon just recently got some buffs, but they honestly don't do enough, and I still think that this is his most powerful kit if you want to clear out Bloom Reaper the Invincible and Ultimate Vault Hunter 6, and honestly this is going to be a very powerful build that'll scale really well as the future DLC upgrades come, because it just has so much going on with it that will scale nicely. So, you know what makes this build so powerful is the new mantra is actually pretty funny because it deals melee damage, but also deals gun damage. And furthermore to that, a specialization can basically take every increase in gun damage we got and apply it to our melee damage, so we get 1.5 times the investment of gun damage increases, meaning we don't have to increase our melee damage at all. We can get it purely from the bare arms there. So this is an incredible weapon, especially with the Jacobs and the Ripper parts. It's not necessary though, because things like the Wombo combo are still very powerful. The Golden God also being a very heavy hitter, and things like the bod always going to be useful in a build like this. We do get heavy infinite ordnances, so another thing is any heavy ordnances will actually get 1.5 times the damage, similar to the mantra, so we want to stack up as much gun damage as possible because we're feeding it back into our other weapons so much more. And with the green skill tree, we're able to get from our class mod some points in there to get heavy ordnance infinitely, but Primal Surge and Tail of the Comet being the main 2 points that are going to give us that. And then some into the red skill tree, going down to take that there's only red and berserk. This is honestly what I think to be the best combination, because we're debuffing enemies, powering our gun damage up, which is applied to our ordnance and to our melee on our guns. Now to start from level 1, Scorch Kairos. This is going to give us an increased magazine size and ordnance damage. Ordnance is just throw your grenades. It's kind of in the early game waiting till your cooldowns are over to be able to deal damage again. But the magazine size is really useful. This then takes us to Tail of the Comet. So whenever we deal ordnance damage, we can apply a cryo status effect that deals cryo damage over time. This is good because it'll proc the Primal Surge. Whenever we apply a status effect, we get ammo back. So there's also the Wrath of Nature for our next one, but I think it's best to go with Battleborn, which will increase our gun damage at full health. So 20% at full health. This is a pretty good buff because, again, it's going to be applied 1.5 times pretty much everything we're doing. After this, there's a couple things we got to do. So Blackout, our ordnance will get a chance to critically hit, and critical hits from ordnance damage apply shock. So this is really nice. We're going to take 1 point into there for the crits. But then we're going to come over here and we're going to go with the Icy Rage, which is going to give us more gun damage increases. So we get 6.25 per stack with a max 5 stacks whenever we deal cryo damage from guns or status effects. And basically, you'll see this appear beside our health bar and it'll scale up as we shoot. So it's good. Primal Surge is a big point of this build though. This has a 25% chance of restoring 15% of our shield and 30% of our ammunition. This is pretty much, when combined with the Tail of the Comet, enough to keep your heavy ordnances firing infinitely. You're not going to run out. It's actually kind of absurd. And for our augment that we'll be taking here, the Eternal Winter here is a really good choice, because this basically, if you want to use the Forge Waves, you can. And the third one actually got a pretty big buff. It does 100% more damage than it previously did. It's an okay option, but it's more so an early game thing you'd be doing, and not in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6. Once you get Cryonic Throom, or once you get to the late game, Cryonic Throom is a good choice, because this will actually do heavy ordnance in an area of effect, and it'll restore you and your teammates' health. So these two are 2 good options depending on where you want to go. Now, I like the Glacial Rapture's capstone, but in all honesty, we're better off using the Firewall, because this will boost up our projectile speed and damage, so we're going to do more damage with our guns. This doesn't really have that effect. It does hazard damage, which sucks in Borderlands 4, unfortunately. So I think Firewall is better. It keeps our cooldown at 50 seconds versus 60, because when we use this, we're actually going to be getting later on the Berserk skill, which is extremely strong. So that's something that's really nice. Now, when the level cap increases, we'll actually be able to use My Touch's Death, the melee damage from our gun, and get this to proc a lot. It's kind of crazy. But that's going to be in the future. And this will actually make Amon a beast with There Is Only Red, because this procs that. But we'll get to that later. Heavy Plate is a good choice for just the overall survivability. However, if you're using the mantra, this will give you melee critical hit chance, which can be nice too. I just still think Heavy Plate's a bit better. We'll take 1 point of the Gut Punch here, which will apply a debuff on the enemy with melee damage or ordnance, which we're doing both of, which makes the enemy deal 40% less damage, and we deal 20% more damage to them. Now, normally we would go with one of the other picks, like the Wield of Storm here, applying our status effects more easily, but we can go with the Discombobulate, given that melee crit chance, or we can go Tritanium Knuckles, which would boost up our melee damage by 40%. It's kind of a nice boost, and 20% extra skill damage. We'll then finish off with another Metal Urge, but the Bullet Storm here, whenever we apply a status effect, which we're going to be doing often with this here, we get an increase to our gun damage. So we can get 7.5% gun damage per stack, 5 stacks. So we basically get both of our gun damage increases really quickly, which applies half of them to our ordnance and to our melee damage from the mantra. Pretty crazy stuff. We're then going to take Berserk. So whenever we activate our Forge skill, which is that Firewall there, we become berserk, which gives us slow immunity, bonus cryo damage with guns, and melee damage. This is kind of crazy because we've got a gun that deals both of those. So it's a 30% bonus cryo damage. And then there is only red kill skill. Whenever we kill an enemy while our berserk is active, this will partially restore the duration and increase the cryo damage from berserk. And this can be pretty good because it gives us a bunch of bonus damage. Later on, we'll be able to take things like My Touch is Death, which will give us that extra critical chance, or the extra chance to apply this basically on our melee damage, making the mantra one of the best weapons. And I was wrong, you take 1 point of titanium knuckles, you want to have that third point is there is only red. It's a lot better to have this increase up the higher mark. Again, in the level cap increase, 5 more levels makes Amon overpowered, so I'm excited because that means the mantra can be able to proc all these abilities and get ourselves that 600% bonus damage, which is crazy. Now for class mods, I still don't think that legendary class mods are as good as some of the purples for Amon. There's the Grenadier and the Cyborg. Both of these are actually pretty powerful. This one gets 20% damage dealt, ordnance damage, and ordnance crit chance. And most importantly, it's giving us skill rolls. This is what's most important for Amon because honestly, his legendaries are okay. We want to get Endless Bombardment, which gives our heavy ordnances a chance to refund themselves. Not necessary, but it does synergize well. You basically never run out. I'd prefer more points than Scorch Kairos for the more ordnance damage. And also the Ballistic Bulwark is nice because we'll get overshield from our ordnance, which is really good when we use certain shields, like the Watch for Dinner. So when we have overshield, we get 25% bonus shock damage. I also have the Amp on it, which will drain our shields for more damage. It's not ideal to have that, honestly, but it's okay because that gun damage does apply to heavy ordnances. But these two go together very well. You can also go with the heavy Super Soldier. Increasing our fire rate is also quite nice. The Super Soldier did get a nerf recently to not give us heavy ordnances, but we don't need that. We already got heavy ordnance replenishment, so we're good. I also like for my enhancement, the Jacobs Bounce Pass is typically going to be one of the best in the game because if you got a weapon with a Jacobs license part, it makes the mantra chain to another target, which is crazy when it deals so much damage. And also we got a very lucky roll getting ourselves a status effect increased chance by 25%, meaning we're more likely to get our ammo and shields back, and the gun damage increase is really nice too. You can also use a Vladoff one. Those are pretty useful as well. And that one has a really nice buff to the Wombo combo. For heavy ordnances, I still have not found a Henny Bunches. I don't know what it is. Tongue Wag, one of the best, honestly, if you can't find it. I also like the Litter Splitter and the Rocket Socket. Those are other good heavy ordinances. Even the Uka can be good. The Atling gun doesn't work well against Bloom Reaper, but I like it a lot for a lot of other bosses. The Streamer is good too, and even the Jet Setter that came from Bloom Reaper can be pretty effective. The Disc Jockey is probably one of the most effective in most purposes because it'll chain around and find enemies and increase in its damage. It bounces around, does some pretty crazy stuff. I'm also going to mention the Bottled Lightning is actually pretty crazy too, and the Raven Fire also actually pretty powerful as they do crazy amounts of damage. Great for mobbing. And for our triple bypass Repkit, I mean, there's other ones like the Kill Spring and the War Paint, which are okay, but triple bypass with splash damage, giving us the action skill back is just crazy. It's the meta. it's hard to unavoid it. But for our weapons, and I guess I'll talk about firmware, ideally 3 high caliber. The reason we want 3 high caliber is when our guns pierce, we can actually pierce through a target, get that to ricochet, and pierce in another target ricochet. It's kind of a crazy boost to our damage. But Gadgets Ahoy also works well because this will give us a crazy big boost to our ordnance damage, which we also want. And melee increases can be good with real big fists, but we're going to be going with, for weapons, the Mantra. This is just the best weapon, I would say, for a lot of different setups. I have the Radiation Shock one. You want to get the Jacobson Ripper parts, kind of rare to find, but worth farming Bloom Reaper for. And the Wombo combo, just tried and true, good weapon. Bunch of different elemental rolls. The Golden God is extremely powerful. If you can get a Cov part for it, or a Cov enhancement that gives 100% crit rate, this can just crit with a Ripper part and the Jacobs to basically just wipe everything out immediately and run out of shotgun shells quick. The Bod, tried and true good gun. It gets, if you can get the ceramic Bod with the stickies, that's the best weapon in the game by far. So obviously it's going to be quite good. The new Rowdy Rider's fun, but not super crazy on Amon. TK's Wave is actually pretty effective. I got the sticky ones here. It's kind of fun. It works decently on this build. Rainbow Vomit's another good one, and the Hot Slugger is always a good weapon. And for our specialization, as mentioned, Bear Arms will add basically any of the gun damage increases to the Mantra, and also the Full Spectrum Arsenal here will then also apply those increases to our heavy ordnance. Now, heavy ordnances count as guns, so if you get 100% increase in your gun damage, it takes that, and then this will also take 50% of that, so you double dip. It's kind of crazy. And really this, 50% extra gun damage, so that's 75% on our ordnances and our melee. It's kind of crazy. Or I should specify the melee from the Mantra. And the best defense, 30% damage when our health is full. We get full health often because of the amount of overshield that we do get. So this works very well. Bullet Train is another okay choice. So when it comes to combo, we can rip away with this gun here. Now, if we stay behind our walls here, using the forge wall can increase the projectile speed and damage of that, so it can be kind of nice. And with cryo damage, we can actually freeze things really easily. My preferred way of doing this is obviously using a heavy ordnance there without hitting ourselves and getting that friendly fire off. But yeah, this rocket launcher here you can see does pretty solid damage in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6. I'll always shoot for the feet there to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, we get that infinite ammo on it, and it's really strong. Basically, when you throw that wall up, you just want to start firing through it. This is the disc jockey. What's funny is you can actually shoot these just at the ground like this, and they're going to chain off and find the boss there. And with this wall, it speeds them up and deals extra damage with them. It's kind of silly because you get infinite amounts of shots with it. So yeah, you don't even have to pay attention. This is like a dad gun, kind of like the stray sniper rifle, where you don't even have to aim. It's going to find them. And here's the rocket socket, which is another very powerful weapon. Again, this wall is just super useful. That's why I don't like using the capstone, because you can see there in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6, we're just ripping through. I think this is the strongest build for Amon without using any type of exploits. He did get a buff yesterday, so hopefully we'll see more, or I guess last week. We'll see more. There's a big update coming next week, and the next Vault Hunter coming soon. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below, and I hope you guys all have a great day.